Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. This video is going to be all about berry toned eyeshadow palettes. I did a purple video a couple of months ago, which if you haven't seen it yet, I will make sure to link in the eye above, of course. And as in that video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the berry palettes that are out there. I think berry, just like purple, is having a moment right now in terms of like warm tones. Everybody seems to be including berries in their palettes. So some of these palettes that I'm going to be showing you are more berry than others, I think. And I have more of them here than the purple palettes because I just have a larger selection available that I think can fit into the berry category. Now, I think that before we get into any of the palettes, we need to talk about this. Excuse how gross this looks. As with everyone's Modern Renaissance palette, this ended up looking a little bit worse for wear. But I think that the palette that got the berry train started is this, because of these reds and pinks that are in this palette. I think this palette made everybody realize that a berry can be a neutral. And because of that, everybody ever since has come out with berries in their palettes for some reason. So there are a couple of palettes that I will be showing you that are exclusively berry, but then I also have a couple of palettes here that have more of like a berry accent to them, if you know what I mean. So this one I think is the one that got it all started. So since I know how everybody already loves this one, this is the one I'm going to not talk about. So I'm going to put it over here, because we're taking that one out of the equation, and I'm going to talk to you about other palettes that are doing berries. So let's just start with our most affordable option that I have here. This is the Makeup Revolution Flawless 4. As with the purple palettes, I feel that some of these trends really get started in like the higher end segment, and then it sort of trickles down. I don't see a lot of drugstore brands really doing berries yet. In the Blazing Bronze by Catrice, there's like some, but they're more plums rather than berries, I feel. So let me just show you what this looks like. So currently, I would say this is the only palette I own from the drugstore that has somewhat of a berry undertone to it. Especially here, you have a couple of berries and plums, and also here you got a couple of matte options. This, to me, when I started using it, I really realized had some similar shades to the Modern Renaissance in it, so that's nice. It also does have like a row of peaches and like other neutrals in here. In terms of flawless palettes, I've tried a few. I think I have a flawless matte one, and I had the original flawless palette. I do think that the quality of these has gone up over time, so I do like this a little bit better, but still, there's only a handful of shades in here that I would really be reaching for, so this is not my favorite per se, but if you're looking for a good drugstore alternative, then I think looking into the Makeup Revolution Flawless 4 can be worth if you just don't have the money of any of the other things that I'm going to be showing you today. So in terms of berries, I find it a very difficult color to truly define. And to showcase that, I have two Urban Decay palettes for you today. The Backtalk palette, which I know got a lot of slack. Not really a lot of people like this. I like mine. I have no issues with it. And then there's the new Naked Cherry, of course, which everybody is raving about being super duper great. So what I thought we could do is sort of put these side by side for a minute to see how these compare. Of course, the Backtalk palette is a little bit more on the mauvey side, but you do get this berry, and like these shades could very much also work in the Naked Cherry, I think. This is, of course, a lot more pink toned. This is far more neutral. So I think that if you go for more like the mauve side of berry, like this, it's a little bit more neutral. And if you go truly like warm toned berry, you get something like this. So I think that in terms of berry, there is a lot of variation in what a berry can do. So let's just look at the Backtalk palette first, because that's the one that's now open on my lap. I already talked about this a little bit in my Urban Decay eyeshadow palette collection, so if you haven't seen that, I will make sure to link it. I know a lot of people had issues with the packaging of this. I have found out that the mirror actually only fits into your palette one way if you want it to close properly, because of the magnets needing to line up. So it's just a little bit of a physics really to try and put this back together. I like how it lays out flat, so it's easy to do your makeup with, I find, because I do my makeup at a table and I can just lay it out like this and I can do my makeup. That's absolutely fine. A lot of people didn't like this shade called Shade. I just found that if you layer it and if you foil it and then apply it a little bit with your finger, it works just fine. It's just a shade you need to really try and work with. And I feel that nowadays, most people just want a shadow to go on and then just blend like crazy, and that's just not me. I prefer building up my shadows, so it really comes down to your personal preference, I think. But in terms of shade selection, I think a lot of people also had qualms with this. But what I knew the minute I saw this, I knew I would use the face shades as part of the eyeshadow palette. I use these shades on my eyes, and the blushes are some really, really nice transition shades, which if you look at the actual eyeshadows, there aren't many of them. And I think the highlighters are really, really nice on me as like an inner corner highlight or something a little bit more shimmery or sheer on the lid as well. And then I feel this is a very nicely rounded out palette. Then you do get, let me see, 12 shades. So that being said, I think if you sort of think a little bit out of the box with this one, I think you can make it work. Is it my favorite Urban Decay palette ever? No, it's not. But I do really feel that this shade selection is one that really appealed to me personally, which is why I really like it. I think that Attitude is a really nice shade here, and that is definitely more of like a berry shade as well. Let me see if I can swatch that for you so you can see it. So there you have Attitude. Put this aside. And there is that shade. It's like a really nice reddish shimmery shade, and I think that's really, really pretty actually. So Attitude in the Backtalk palette is just a really, really great shade. I think it may be doing something similar to Sonic in the Vice 3 palette, but if you don't have that, and that was limited edition as well, and you do have this, and this is a nice shade to get that similar sort of vein. So that's the Backtalk palette. So now we're talking about Urban Decay anyway, let's just talk about that Naked Cherry palette as well. That's new. On some websites, I find the information that this is supposed to be limited edition, but I can't find that information on other websites. So I'm not sure what the deal is with this one. It is now also available at Ici Paris here in the Netherlands. So if you're still looking for this and you live in the Netherlands, then this is now more widely available than it was before. This palette has a couple of peaches and some berries, like pinks and berries at the top. I do find that peaches and berries go really nice together. Case in point, the look I'm wearing today. I'm wearing more like peachy tones on my eyes and then a nice berry lip. So I also find that on the eye, they combine very, very nicely. So I do really like this eyeshadow palette, and it's the reason why I put it in the top 2 of my Naked palette video overview that I did a few weeks ago. So again, I will link that if you haven't seen it yet. And yeah, it just has a couple of really, really interesting shimmers here in the middle. They have a bit of a duochrome to them. And while they look like a very standard shade in the pan, once you swatch them and put them on your eyes, they really have this like berry undertone to them, which makes them really unique in my opinion. And I really like this shade, especially here, this matte called Devilish. Again, let me swatch that for you. So there's Devilish. And there you have Devilish. It's such a pretty matte shade. It's just, it's stunning. And I do really like the quality of these shadows as well. And I already talked in my previous Urban Decay video that I just referenced, the Naked palette overview one, that this and the Naked 3 could complement each other. But I also feel that these two could complement each other. So if you already have the Backtalk palette, maybe you don't need the Naked Cherry as well. But if you feel that this is a bit too muted, a bit meh, and you need some better shades to make this work, then this can be a nice addition. However, if you don't have this and you don't want to hunt it down, and you do like the color scheme that's in here, then I think the Naked Cherry is better in terms of quality, and you just get a very nice shade range in here that's truly a berry, which I appreciate. Speaking of truly berry palettes, I think that if you really like the Modern Renaissance, but you find it a little too neutral and not berry enough, there are now a couple of palettes on the market that do a full berry look. Is the Lime Crime Venus XL palette. I'm not sure if this is still available. I got mine on Cult Beauty, I'd say, and this is like Modern Renaissance on steroids. Hello, this is such a pretty palette. And when I wore this, when I was trying it out for the first time, I always try to do multiple looks throughout the week. So when I'm trying a bigger palette like this, I do a makeup look with it every single day I go to work. And every single time I wore this palette on my eyes, tons of colleagues came up to me like, what are you wearing on your eyes? That looks really pretty. Because these kind of tones just really suit me. So if you like the Modern Renaissance, but it could be amped up a little bit, it can step up its game a little bit because it's far too neutral for your tastes, then this is one very berry palette that is a very, very good option. It has some really stunning shades. I do have to say, some of the mattes in here, especially when they get very dark, like here, Botticelli, they are a little bit not chunky, but chalky, and you can kind of need to work with them as well. My favorite shade in here definitely has to be Flora, this like really like bright peachy shade. But Passion is really nice. I really like how this has some brighter pops in there. That's just why I love this. But I think that in terms of what this can do is just really, really stunning. Let me just swatch this Flora shade for you. So these feel a little bit dry to the touch as well, but look at that pigmentation. So great. And that's Flora. Look at how bright that is. That definitely packs a punch, right? So if you think that the Modern Renaissance is a bit too boring for your tastes, then the Venus XL can do something very similar indeed. So the next palette I'd like to share with you is a palette that doesn't have a true berry color scheme, but that has a pop of berry in it. And that is the new Too Faced Gingerbread Spice, which is of course limited edition for Christmas. I had a very hard time finding this. They now do it at Douglas. I saw it over at the counter, the Too Faced counter in the Douglas at Lijnbaan in Rotterdam. I did see that there, but I happened to buy mine on ASOS, which, surprise, surprise, ASOS does makeup, and I got it at like the usual price point, which is what I wanted to do, because I don't think this is super duper special in terms of really shelling out the extra cash of shipping it over from the US or something like that. This is what Gingerbread Spice looks like. As I mentioned, this is a palette with a pop of berry, because it's sort of like this, like these two and that one really, and everything else is neutral. I do have to say that the looks I pulled out of this were really, really stunning, but my go-to look with this, I just know, is going to feature this shade here, which is Hot Toddy, which is also one of the berry toned ones. So if I swatch that for you, my finger is a little bit stained from the Flora shade that I just swatched, so apologies. But there we have Hot Toddy, and I'm not sure, the camera isn't picking up on this, sadly, but this is such a stunning shade. It's a duochrome, and it shifts from like this like berry shade to like a gold, and I don't think the camera is actually showing you that. But in real life, if the light doesn't hit it, then there is like a berry undertone, and then when the light hits it, it turns into a gold. It is such a unique shade, I feel, that to me, that one shade was worth the entire palette, really. It has some other stunning shades as well, but if you don't like a full neutral look and you don't want something super matte like the Modern Renaissance, you like something with a bit more shimmer, then the Gingerbread Spice one is a good one to look into. Now, there are two brands that I definitely wanted to feature in this video as well. They're sort of, again, the outside category in this video, I would have to say, and that's Dose of Colors and Melt. Dose of Colors is doing these like little mini palettes, and one of them is actually called Blushing Berries, and the other one is called Marvellous Mauves. These are the two I went for. They also do like baked browns and something like sexy siennas, I think. Maybe they're doing more of these, who knows. This is the Marvellous Mauves one, and I really like these shades. So again, Backtalk vibes here, but in a very small, like gradient pattern. These are all matte, so I wanted to feature these because I think that if these palettes are too big for your taste, that something like this can work really, really well. These are pricey. You only get 5 shades, and these retail for around the €30 mark. That's expensive for eyeshadow, but they have a really, really great texture. Now you can already see from where I've used it most, this one, that darkest berry shade, which I think it is called Spaced Out, I think. The names are on the back here, but I don't think that's, yeah, that's not supposed to be called Rosy, I think. So again, if I swatch that for you, wow, look at that. So despite my finger being stained from that Lime Crime shade, this looks stunning. So there you have that shade right there. It's such a nice, like more of like a muted berry. I think that it's actually quite similar, a little less intense than Devilish. This is a bit more red. This is a bit more like plum. But if you do like a true berry, they also do the blushing berries. I got this and I feel that for my skin tone, this may be a bit too dark, especially this lightest shade. This is not a highlight on me, but I was hoping I could mix these two palettes together, and that does work quite nicely, I have to say. I do have to say that these two shades don't really go with the other one, but this and the black and also this like peachy shade really do go nicely together. But this shade, oh, it's called Berry Pop, and that's, I think, the perfect name for this shade. Let me take another finger. There we go. It is like a purpley berry, just, oh, such a delicious shade, really. So I've swatched it right there, and as you can see, those two shades do go nicely together, really. And I think it also goes nicely together with some of these. It is a really, really stunning palette. They are very matte, very pigmented, very easy to blend. They are a little bit on that powdery side, which is usually not my favorite, but this is a really, really nice, these two palettes are really nice. I think that if you pick one, depending on your skin tone and your preference, I think that the Marvellous Mauves one is best if you want a berry look, if you're fair-skinned like me, but the berries one is nice if you have a darker skin tone, I would say. However, they do go nicely together as well, so you could also go and bust out two of these and then just amp up the looks that way. These are really nice for travel, I think, and I know that a lot of people nowadays don't like those big palettes anymore, so if you like something smaller, then these are definitely worth the money. And last but not least, Melt Cosmetics. I bought these from their official website over the summer. I decided to just wanting to try some Melt, and they do stacks like this, and this is the She's in Party stack, and it is such a stunning. It starts off with a duochrome, then you have this sort of like matte berry shade, a matte berry, then you get a really nice shimmery berry, and then you get this really deep, well, more of a plum, I would say. It's called Mean Streak, but it's like a berry purple plum shade. But especially these two in the middle, I would say, are really stunning berry shades. The reason why I wanted to feature this in this video is because Melt Cosmetics is now available on Beauty Bay, which means if you're in Europe, you no longer have to pay for customs, which I did. And it was pricey, let me tell you that. But let me just swatch this shade right here. This is Last Caress. Let me just take this finger. There we have that. Ooh, I'm sticking my finger in there again. Now my thumb is covered in it too. So that's the swatch right here. And it's just a really nice muted berry shade. But the star of the show for me, and why I really wanted to have this stack, is the shade that's called She's in Parties. It's right there on my ring finger. Let me see where I can swatch this. So I swatched it here on my wrist. It's just a really nice sort of like deep shade, a nice berry tone. Oh, it's so stunning. Again, it's a bit of a duochrome. I think actually, I no longer have any fingers to do it, but I think that if we were to combine Hot Toddy with She's in Parties, that would be a stunning lid look. So like She's in Parties all over and then a bit of Hot Toddy in the middle just to make it pop a bit more. I think those will go very nicely together. So that's it, everyone. Those were all of the berry palettes I wanted to feature in this video. Please let me know in a comment down below which berry palette is your favorite and that you're either looking to buy or that you love playing around with. I would love to know. And please subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more by me. I make new videos twice a week on Thursday and Sunday at 5 a.m. Central European Time. And if you could like this video, that would be really, really great if you could thumbs it up because it helps getting my videos out there. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you have a great day today and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!